let's get the ball rolling by kickstarting this week's conversations. We kickstart by answering last week's trivia question, where last week we asked you about Cote d'Ivoire. We said that since the year 2006, they became the very first nation to be the host nation and the winners of the Africa Cup of Nations. We asked you last week, since inception in 1957, how many host nations have won the Afcon? Brian?
The numbers were very nice. I saw some numbers flying. Somebody said 15. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Only 9 nations have won the competition.
Yeah.
Egypt won it 3 times, Ghana twice, 1 each for Algeria, Sudan, Ethiopia, South Africa, Tunisia, and Cote d'Ivoire.
It is 9 in total. We gave you 2 hints last week. It was Egypt, because they won it back in the year 2006. And we also said Cote d'Ivoire, because they won it in 2023. Thank you so much for joining along on our social media platforms. Make sure that you stay there, because there's another trivia question that is lined up just for you. This week, we're asking you about Andre Ayew. Will you do the honors, sir?
He's indeed Andre Ayew. When he played for Ghana before they got eliminated in the group stages, he equaled a record that was set for most appearances at the Afcon tournament. 36, that's the number. But there's one player who held a record for the most appearances, the 36 that he tied. Which player is that? And maybe also just to try and play around. Give us the years also if you want to. If you want
to.
The
thing about you is that you like to spice it up, but that's the trivia question for this week. We are asking you, Andre Ayew has a record of 36 appearances at the Africa Cup of Nations. Who else holds the same record? At Fut-Afrique on all social media platforms, use the hashtag Fut-Afrique. Now, before we dive and relive those magical moments that I promised you of the Africa Cup of Nations, because you wanted us to go a little bit more deeper and we listened, because that's exactly what we're doing today. We kickstart by sending our dear condolences to the Zambian women's national team, that being the Copper Queens, as they have lost one of their own queens, that being Noreen Betani.
That's the name. A young lady, age 24. She was part of the squad that was selected for the Olympic qualifiers. You know, Zambia played a game on Friday. You know, their first game on the qualifiers for that. So on Wednesday, she passed away. Just 2 days before they played their first game. Played a football for Indian Roses. And 24 years of age. She was rushed to the hospital and she passed away. So condolences going out both to the football nation of Zambia, everybody in football, women's football in particular, and also going out to Indian Roses team. So may her soul rest in peace.
May her soul rest in peace indeed. Obviously, on the African continent, your brother is my brother, your sister is my sister, because as one, we are all family. But let's get into the conversations of this week and relive those magical moments of the Africa Cup of Nations, the road to the final. So we saw Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire make it all the way, being the last 2 teams standing. Let's relive the journey that Nigeria took. Obviously, they kickstarted their proceedings in front of against Equatorial Guinea, where they played to a 1-1 draw. Yeah. Many people said with that start, they would not be able to bounce back. But then their second game was a massive one, where they shocked everyone.
You know, if you look at Nigeria's journey to the final, you start first by saying that Guinea-Bissau in the qualifiers, they had lost their home game against Guinea-Bissau before winning their away game in the qualifiers itself. Getting to the top competition, Guinea-Bissau is in the same group. Equatorial Guinea drew against Nigeria in the first game. But also you got to give credit to Nigeria, because Equatorial Guinea goalkeeper Jesus Owana did get man of the match in that game, just to show how much they dominated in the game, how well they went about their business. And I thought, you know, what Victor Osimhen scored in the first game, said, okay, we're going to relive the qualifiers. We scored 10 goals in total, and that is the reigning man football of the year in the continent also. You know, I thought, okay, maybe we're going to see more of that. It was not to be. But you spoke about a surprise. In the second game, against the host nation, sold out affair, president of the country is there, everybody is there, everybody wearing orange around the stadium, packing the stadium to the rafters. Nigeria had a plan.
Nigeria had a plan, and you talk about the pressure that Nigeria was under within that moment. But would you not say that there was more pressure for Cote d'Ivoire as opposed to Nigeria?
You now say there's pressure for Nigeria, one, because they drew their first game. Cote d'Ivoire had won their first game. Expectations were there they'll continue, they left off in the first game. Where, you know, Fofana scored a beauty, got man of the match in the first game, you know, before they got their second game and eventually won the game. And they play against Nigeria, whom had massive pressure coming to the competition itself, because the people at home were saying, no, their coach is not doing well. He's not playing the players they want to play. He didn't bring the players that are supposed to be in the team, first of all. He brought some new faces into the squad. What is Ahmed Musa doing in the team? Because he's not been performing very well of late, you know? So there are a lot of stories coming up into the competition itself to say, will he be able to deliver?
Yeah.
And on the day, they did their job. They won the game 1-0. It was a penalty, forget it, but the reality is that after scoring, they never conceded. And that was a trend on us to continue in matches to follow. Because they went and played a game against Guinea-Bissau, scoring, an own goal was scored there for them. They went into the quarterfinals. They won their game also scoring first. Lukman arrived there. Yeah. Because Luke one way he's there, and then 2-0 the scoreline. Yeah. Go into the next round, which is after last 16 quarterfinals, 1-0 as well in the encounter. Lukman on a score sheet alongside Simon, combining very well. Osimhen playing a different role in the match as well. Those two matches. They got into the semi-finals. Yeah. I think they were stretched.
I want us, before we get to the semi-final, I want us to take you back to the game that they played up against Cameroon in the round of 16. Yeah. Obviously, because of pedigree, many people would say that a more harder opponent would have been South Africa in the semi-final. Yeah. But that Cameroon and Nigeria, that West African clash, that was also one that people really wanted to see.
It was always goes. History is always there.
Yeah.
Cameroon won the Afcon 5 times. Nigeria's won it 3 times. Looking to really close the gap between themselves. There's also rivalry within the West as well. Yeah. Also the legend of Cameroon are sitting there, legend of Nigeria sitting there watching the game itself. So a lot of pressure coming into that game. But something they did very well, Nigeria, on the day. They had Osimhen pulling the Cameroonian defenders with him and laying the pass into the path of Lukman. Simon did the same thing. Aina really stood out. Onyeka and Emilio Parks, beautiful to watch. Bassi and Kwe and everything else. That's what led to the quarterfinals, led into the semifinals, how they won the game and how they booked their place in the final.
Well, they went on and they booked their place in the final. We talk about Victor Osimhen. Many people still debating the facts as if, did he bring that African Player of the Year title into that team for Nigeria? Was it seen? Well, other people have seen, and people like Brian saying that his role was very vital in that team. Yes, he didn't score the goals, but he contributed to the goals that were being scored. Don't go anywhere, because we continue the conversations. When we come back, we talk about Côte d'Ivoire, the kings of Africa.